Hi, and welcome to Kroc Talk. This is a new broadcast that we're doing here at the Kroc Center, and we hope that you will enjoy it. We got lots of things to share with you. This first show this evening, we're just going to kind of introduce what we're going to be doing with this, explain how often we'll be doing it, and we have some special guests we're going to bring on in a little bit. But we just wanted to start and let you know who we are. We are hosting the show. My name is Kevin Boesiger. This is my wife, Tami. And just to give you a little background of who we are and why we're here and why we happen to be part of this show, I am the Arts and Education Director here at the Kroc Center. And so I get to work with a lot of different areas in the programming here, which has been just a great joy, a challenge, but I'm excited about what's to come for us. But my previous employment before I came to the Kroc Center, we both spent 27 years in ministry, full-time ministry. I was a worship pastor at a church in Beatrice, Nebraska, before coming to Omaha. And through that time, we spent a lot of time working with lots of different age groups. I was the youth pastor there to start, and music. So we've worked with high school kids, we've worked with college kids, 20-something. My wife has led many ladies' Bible studies there. So some of the things we'll be talking about, we've already kind of worked out with some of the ministries that we were involved with before. As a musician, I have all kinds of different things that I've done in my life as well. I compose and write some music and have some choral music with the publishing company, and have had an opportunity to kind of travel and do some work with that as well. So we have a variety of ways that we've done things, lots of different things over the years. And we just thought maybe you'd like to get to know who we are. So we've been married together now for 34 years, right?
You did it.
Okay.
Yep.
Make sure that I had the right number of years. We have 4 kids, ranging age from 22 to 30. Did I get that right too?
Yes, you did.
Okay, that's good. And just in this last year, the last 2 got married, so all 4 of our kids are married. And so we get a chance to really have some great discussions with them, which has probably prepared us more for this than some of the other things that we've done. But Tami, tell us some of the things that you've done as well, so we can kind of let people know who we are.
Well, as a wife of a pastor, I got wrangled into all kinds of stuff at church. Like Kevin said, I was participated in a number of women's Bible studies, led them for 25 years, which makes me very old. But I did that. I also took part in youth group, a college ministry. And actually a college ministry went through Southeast Community College, and so we ministered to kids there. Had a lot of people in our home all the time. So I was busy cooking and cleaning and that sort of thing too. Keeping up with 4 kids is a chore in itself too, and so I kept busy with that. As Kevin neglected to mention, a big part of our church experience, which was writing and producing productions for the church, and we spent an enormous amount of time doing that. Greatly rewarding, because we ended up being able to develop community with our little people who were involved with it. So that was a big part of what we did too. And as our kids grew and got older, I felt God kind of impressing upon me, we're going to do something different and new. And so in my 50s, I decided I would go back to school, and I got a degree in counseling, and now I'm a licensed counselor here in Omaha, and enjoying that area of service just as much as all the other stuff we've done.
Yeah, so we have a pretty big variety of things that we've done over the years. I've also taught at the college level, taught actually K through 12 music was the very first thing that I did. So you can imagine what that's like, teaching K through 12 music. And I want to give a shout out to all the teachers out there now for what they're working their way through, because teaching is not an easy job in the first place. And then to throw on top of it all this remote learning makes it even more difficult. So shout out to you teachers for the great work you're doing. We're praying for you and hoping that you're able to stay encouraged during this rough time as well. So that's a little bit about us, and I'm sure you'll find out more about us as this show continues to go on. It just kind of, we are people that what you see is what you get. It's going to come out at some point. So good, bad, or ugly, I hope that you'll enjoy that part of the show. What Kroc Talk is really meant to do is it gives us a place to introduce some topics that are maybe kind of hard to deal with, and we'll kind of talk about how we're going to do that in the format. But first of all, we want you to understand the mission of the Salvation Army, because that's our mission for this show as well, is what the Salvation Army's mission is, and that is preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ and meeting human needs in his name without discrimination. So that is really our goal here to begin with. And what this broadcast is really meant for is to help you kind of navigate those gray areas in life and shed God's light on it. And we'll be looking at Scripture to see what Scripture says about these things. But there's so many things in life that are gray areas that don't have easy cut and dry answers. And we really want to provide a place where we can have an open dialogue and talk about that. So that is really the mission of what we're doing here today.
Yeah, the format for you to kind of follow along with us. Each week we'll present a topic. We will offer any sort of pertinent scripture that goes along with it. If there is a position that the Salvation Army has on the topic, we'll present that as well. And then we will just have a discussion about it and hopefully vocalize those, I don't know if I know what to do with that sort of kind of questions. We intend to have guests come on and kind of help us through the dialogue and offer some differing opinions of what we might have. And so we want this just to really be an open place for people to express those thoughts about hard things that we don't really know how to work with, how to deal with. Because sometimes, as we all know, it is difficult to live a life that represents Christ, but also get along with people who don't espouse that sort of opinion. And so those are the kinds of things we want to hit on. You can find us on Facebook Live on the Omaha Kroc Facebook page. We will be there the first Wednesday of every month starting out here. You can also find us on the Omaha Kroc YouTube channel. And if you aren't able to watch us live, do not fear. You can always watch it. It will stay on the page from then on out, and you can always access it at any time if you want to go back and see what happened.
Because you know you're going to want to do that.
Yeah.
The other way that we really want you to participate, we really want this to be a discussion, and we want you to participate with us. And I know that's a little bit different online, so we're going to set up a few different ways that hopefully will make it easy for you. Tonight, you can make comments as the show continues to go on this evening, and I would encourage you to do that. We really would love to know who's out there listening tonight. Pop on. We've got good old Lori Miles is on the computer here, and she's taking care of that for us. Let her know you're here. Later on we'll give you an opportunity to give us some suggestions for topics, things you think would be good for us to address here. But we do want you to participate. And each time we do one of the shows, we'll have a little different way of getting you involved. But jump on Facebook, make a comment. Tell us where you're from if you don't happen to be part of a member of the Omaha Kroc or the Kroc Church. If you're watching and you're states away or even just a few miles away, let us know where you're coming from. We'd love to pray for you. There's all kinds of ways we want to interact with you, but we would encourage you to do that, to participate with us as these shows continue on.
Yeah, and we'd just like to offer that Kroc Talk is not about giving you a definitive position on any sort of subject. We want to just open the door and give you permission to think critically, to really think about how you want your life to represent Christ, but also love your neighbor. And we all know there are a lot of areas that we face every day that are difficult. So we are planning that we are going to have people on the show that disagree with us. And you might disagree with us. And that's just fine. That we need to develop this atmosphere of grace and tolerance. And that's our goal here, not to agree on everything, not to tell you what to think. We want you to think for yourself. Our goal is to offer up some ideas and let you decide how you want to respond to those. We are emulating, or what we hope to emulate, is to emulate Jesus, who the Bible says came in grace and truth. And so we will offer you what the Word of God says, which will be the truth part. We will try to abide by that and obey it. That is our goal. But we also do not want to ignore the grace part of Jesus, who loved everybody regardless of their standing, regardless of skin color, and regardless of their thought. And so we want to offer that grace as well. So that is a key part of what we hope to achieve in the Kroc Talks. For tonight, we've chosen a scripture to kind of represent that. It comes from 2 Corinthians 1:12, and it says this: "Now this is our boast. Our conscience testifies that we have conducted ourselves in the world, and especially in our relations with you, with integrity and godly sincerity. We have done so relying not on worldly wisdom, but on God's grace." And I know my personal prayer for our Kroc Talk here is that we would represent that integrity, sincerity, and grace as we talk about some of these difficult topics.
So this evening for our guests, and just to kind of set the tone and give you a better feel for what is actually going on here at the Omaha Kroc Center, we're going to be bringing out the senior officers here, Captain John and Captain Tracy Gantner, and we're going to ask a few questions about it, but you're going to really get a chance to hear see their heart and hear their vision and the mission here at the Kroc Center. And I think that's a great place for us to start so that you kind of understand how all this fits together. We're super excited about it as an employee here and getting a chance to work within the center. I'm really excited to see what God's going to do here in just even the next 6 months, hopefully as things are able to ramp up and as COVID hopefully dies down on us here. But we're going to bring them out. So we're going to take just a quick, brief break as we bring out Captain John and Captain Tracy Gantner. All right. I told you it was going to be brief. Didn't take us long at all to get. We're fast. We're quick around here. And really, if you're not familiar with the Kroc Center at all, it's a pretty fast pace. There's lots of energy it takes to keep the Kroc moving. So we don't waste a whole lot of time here. We kind of get down to the nitty gritty and kind of move with it. So what we want to do here for the rest of the show today is just kind of talk about the mission, your vision for the things that are going on here at the Kroc Center and kind of where we're headed with things. And I think it'll be just a great overview. We've got some prepared questions, but again, we're hoping that this show becomes a thing that it is driven by those of you that are asking us questions as we get further into this and really discuss the topics that are at heart here. So the first thing we have is just for you to share with us what the mission of the Kroc Center is and how do you envision the integration of the mission in all the areas of the center. How does that play out here?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having us on as your first guest. I'm excited about this program and your and Tami's willingness to host it. I think it's going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to having it. I think at one time you mentioned a little catchphrase of where faith meets life, and I think that's an area that we're still working on. I'm hoping this program will bring up topics that how do we express our faith in a world that is looking a little different than maybe 50 years ago, and there are people that don't profess the same as us, but how do we make this all work, and how do we stay true to Scripture as we go along? But to answer your question, the mission of the Kroc Center is the same mission as the Salvation Army. And I know when they first came online, people were questioning. The Kroc Center here in Omaha is about 10 years old, and it's one of the first that was open in the Midwest. But people were wondering, what is the mission? And I think it just goes back to what the Salvation Army's mission and what William Booth wanted to do all along, and that was to preach the gospel, to be true to kingdom building in Jesus' name, and to also meet human need in his name without discrimination. And so at the Kroc Center, our purpose, I tell my staff, is people. It's not programs. Yes, we have swimming, we have a pool, we have a lazy river, we have a fitness center, we have a pottery room, we have all those things. But those are expressions of our mission, not our purpose. I think when we keep people first and we're looking at people's needs, above the entrance to our building, it says, with God, all things are possible. And I think the Kroc Center is just trying to come alongside of people with resources, with opportunity, and with staff that is interested in them first, to what does that thing that God's potential has in you that you want to, that the Kroc Center can come alongside you. And it may be personal fitness, it may be strengthening your family, it may be having your kids realize their potential in arts or talents. I mean, we have all different types of fine art program, as you well know, Kevin. So I think that the human need thing, or need in his name without termination, the one part I think that we underestimate in our society today is the need for community and the need for people to come together, because you can have it all, and you may be okay, independent, financially okay, but we don't have community like we used to. And there's a lot of people out there that are lonely. I mean, this year, COVID, yes, I think we all have seen some of that, but some people, they're lonely like this year, every year. Kids, immigrants to the country that are new, don't know a lot of people, seniors, but just there's people from all walks that are just going through the motions of living. And I think that Jesus wanted more. And I think the Kroc Center is trying to figure that out. And then, what do you think?
Well, I just think the Kroc Center gives us amazing opportunities to do ministry. We have all types of people, all ages, all races, all different walks of life, and they come into this building, and there's something here for everyone. And like Captain John mentioned, our mission is people. And we have 4,000 members. We have 4,000 people that we can share our story with and share our love with, and just open them up and make them feel like they really belong here.
What disadvantages or advantages do you see of the Kroc Center? You know, it's a unique ministry, just like you said. It's like we encompass so many different people. They don't really even think of themselves as coming into a church necessarily, but we see it as a church.
Right.
Okay, so what are the advantages and disadvantages that might be tied to that?
Well, one, I think, example of an advantage is just as of recent with COVID, you know, the needs changed. And Kevin and his team did an amazing job, and we put together what we call Kroc Academy. And we see that kids fall behind quickly. And with distance learning, they're falling behind at a very fast pace. And here at the Kroc Center, we offer one-on-one mentoring and an opportunity to participate with other children and keep up with the pace at a minimum with what they would be doing if they were in school. That was a real advantage. And that was in great thanks to Kevin and his team. Here at the Kroc Center, we were able to offer that. We have 8 classrooms, so we opened them up. We put a program together. We worked with the Omaha public school system, and it has been now running now for 7-8 weeks, and it has been a great program. In addition, we're learning more about their families. We're reaching out to their family. We're understanding that there are additional needs there as well, that we are able to come alongside them and work with the entire family. So it's I think that's a real advantage to this Kroc Center that we have that.
I know, Captain John, when you came, you guys have been here now for about 3.5 years.
Right.
Is that about it, right? Because I think we came almost at the exact same time.
Yeah.
The same month that I started working I met you as the new officers here at the Kroc Center. So it's been great, because it's been a great start for both of us to get to know each other. But I know you have talked to us a lot as a staff that there is a difference. We want this to be one Kroc. So what does one Kroc mean? How does that play out?
Sure. Well, at the foundation, the Salvation Army is a church. We're a Christian church, Protestant, and we're Bible-based. So we have to stay true to that. We don't want to have it where we have a great fitness center, but we're not sharing the love of Jesus Christ with people. But in the same respect, in one Kroc this is a Christian faith-based, but we welcome everyone. There are people from all different walks that come into the Kroc Center each and every day. And the nice thing is that you can express your faith in this building, because more and more in public spaces, expressing your faith is something that's pretty much not allowed at work, in the public square, and different things. And here, if someone needs us to pray with them, we're going to pray with them. We're not going to force anything on them, and we're going to meet people where they're at and respect who they are. But the full mission of the Kroc Center is, again, we have to be more than programming. if we're just providing programming, there's a lot of places that already do that and do that quite well, swim lessons and other things. What we really want to look at is, and this is where it doesn't differ from the Salvation Army everywhere, is holistically. How do I value you as a person to start with and help you achieve some of the things you want to do and just respect you enough to care about you? Again, if one of our lifeguards is working with someone, they should get to know them, and if the person comes in and says, my mother just got diagnosed with cancer, that shouldn't be just an informative thing. That'd be something that our staff member would want to care about and value, as far as we look at the whole entire picture of it. And that's been the mission of the Salvation Army all along. Sometimes the expression of how we're doing things changes. 150 years ago, William Booth was doing it in the East End of London. The needs there were a little different, but some were similar. But you were saying what's one of the disadvantages, and I think it's a challenge for the Salvation Army overall that we don't spend a lot of money on marketing. So a lot of people know us from our thrift stores and our disaster work, Tami.
Or bell ringing.
Or bell ringing, right? But they don't know that the Salvation Army is in over 130 countries, that the Salvation Army has over 40 schools in Haiti and around the world and hospitals. And so the Salvation Army is quietly going about the business of our mission, and we don't always, the general public doesn't always know all that. Well, then you add on top of that this new kind of paradigm that Joan Kroc, with the gift for Krocs to build these amazing state-of-the-art centers in areas. So that's even a little bit different. Again, the mission's the same, but the expression of it looks different than it would at different places. But Joan Kroc felt that talent didn't discriminate, opportunity did. So she felt that kids in areas that don't have the opportunity may never realize that they could be in theater or do pottery or swim or whatever. So having these facilities where they could figure out that potential, or we were doing engineering classes upstairs with an engineering firm that was working with us, and I have to tout this because a couple of girls, after going through that, were like, I want to be an engineer when I grow up, which, first of all, for girls, that's an industry where, girls aren't always introduced to.
Right.
So I was very proud of that fact. But the opportunity for the people in the community to experience something like engineering and then think about a career path and an educational path that brings them either to engineering or something else. But if they're not exposed to it, it's kind of hard in the abstract to realize what your potential is. So that's the challenge. Is this when I got here, the biggest thing was people would say the Kroc Center is a hidden gem, and I said I like the gem part. I don't want to be hidden. Yeah. So we did Experience Kroc, and that's what I think you're going to see going forward, is just us having people experience Kroc, and now in this new paradigm, virtually experiencing Kroc. This is not something that's just happening during COVID. This is, we at the Kroc Center, and you're going to see more coming, this is just the beginning, but we've embraced this, and people who are tuning in, I know some people tuned in from Florida. You're a part of our Kroc family here in Omaha now, so we want you to tune in, and you're a part of our ministry overall, but we believe the Kroc's potential, we're still in our infancy of what Krocs could really do in a community. Joan Kroc, I think, visioned the Kroc Centers to be game changers, and through our local and regional community, but also now with streaming, we may change lives even far afield from us, and that's exciting.
Yeah, one thing I want to ask you about, as you were talking about the opportunities that are offered to people, I think I don't know if people are aware, there's a membership fee involved, and so, some people might say, well, what if I can't afford the membership? How are you providing my kid an opportunity? I wonder if you might want to speak to that a little bit.
Sure. So that was one of the things Joan Kroc thought, that everyone should pay something. And we even see that the attendance and stuff on things is when you have a little bit of skin in the game. I think it helps to understand the value of what you're getting. But also, I think it gives you self-esteem. This isn't charity in the sense that it's just a giveaway. This is something that you may have to, there's some money involved. Now, the way our funding is the cost is just initially low because of the gift from Joan Kroc, and then we do have scholarships available. But on top of that, and one of the things that we've been trying to do, and unfortunately this year made it a challenge, but we're trying to get beyond the walls and bring Kroc experiences to the community. About 30% of our programming is free and available to everybody, and that is either stuff we provide directly or we have partners that use our building and do things. We're also a church, so we have those character building programs that any Salvation Army would have. We have those at the Kroc. So I think a lot of people came on board, and that membership thing it was a new paradigm for the Salvation Army. And again, communications are always difficult, but getting the message out there that we have something for everyone. In fact, sometimes my marketing team gets upset because they want me to be very specific on who we're marketing to, and I'm like, the Kroc is for everyone. So we're doing that. And then above and beyond that, there are programs for seniors that healthcare agencies pay for their membership because we are a fitness center. So we're always trying to keep that bar low, but we're also trying to bring programs of excellence. The one thing the Kroc Center isn't is, sometimes you'll see where you'll build 4 walls and you'll put a basketball in there and say, we'll keep those kids off the street by having them play basketball. Well, that's not what a Kroc Center was built for. A Kroc Center was to create programs of excellence, not warehouse kids. So we're really looking at changing the trajectory of kids, individuals, seniors, families, and the community at large. So yeah, there's a cost to it, but again,
It's very minimal.
It's very minimal, and I think that my staff knows this, and our heart is that that's not going to be an obstacle to making things happen. So my team knows that I expect them to give very good value overall, whether people are paying or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good. Now you mentioned, we have this church and everything, and I think that is probably one of the biggest hidden gems of the Kroc Center is the church, because you pull up to this gorgeous facility and you're not thinking, we're going to go in and hear the organ. We don't think in that way. And so I wonder if you would just kind of like to, maybe Captain Tracy, you could tell us a little bit about the church, kind of where you envision that going, or kind of what our services look like, that sort of thing, to give people an idea that it's not just a place to come swim and work out, but we have all kinds of stuff going on. So tell us a little bit about the church.
Well, like we mentioned, we want ministry throughout this entire building. We look at it and view it as one army or as a parish. But yes, where we are sitting right here, this is where we do church every Sunday morning. We're virtual right now. And hopefully soon we'll be inviting everybody back to come and do a Sunday worship service with us with Bible studies. But in addition to that, we have programs throughout the week where we have women's ministries, we have men's ministries, we have programs like this, we have character building, and we have youth ministry programs. We have summer camps, we have spring break, winter break. We have all types of ministry that we implement throughout the center all year round. Mm-hmm. And I was raised Catholic. So when I first met John in Hawaii, that's where we met.
That's a pretty good place to meet.
Pretty good place, yes. Yeah. He told me that, he was a Salvationist. And I thought, a Salvationist? What is a Salvationist? He goes, well, with the Salvation Army. And I was surprised. I had never heard that the Salvation Army was a church. That was my first exposure. My previous life, I used to fly quite a bit. And when people would see me reading the Bible on the airplane, they would always start a conversation with me. And the minute I told them I was a Salvationist, it was like it took the conversation to a whole nother level. Because everyone's aware of the Salvation Army, but they're not aware that their core, their founder was all about getting Jesus and introducing Jesus to others. And I remember one time this man said to me, he goes, I had no idea the Salvation Army was a church. I just know them, they do all this good stuff. And I remember looking at him and saying, I guess I joined the right church then, didn't I?
Mm-hmm. I love that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was speaking as, two people that were not Salvationists, not raised Salvationists, but, It's interesting, we talk to different people, and I know you've heard this before, where they'll talk about the church and go, well, you go to church at a thrift store?
Right.
That's where you have church? And it's like,
Right.
no, that's not what it is. But I think what is most impressive to me, or I guess what impressed me, was that the Salvation Army is about innovation.
Yes.
We think about the Salvation Army as, it's brass bands and it's preaching on the streets, and a lot of people probably their idea of it is what we see in shows or in Guys and Dolls,
Right.
where they're playing the bass drum and everybody's following them to the meeting, those types of things. But it's interesting to me, nobody does brass bands better than the Salvation Army. Incredible music, incredible players. But going to one of the music conferences and getting a chance to talk to a Salvationist who was in his 80s, and we were talking about music and different things, and he found out I was from the Kroc Center. And he said, you're from the Kroc. And he goes, the Salvation Army has always been about innovation. It wasn't about brass bands. It was an innovative way to bring people so we have an opportunity to share Jesus with them. And I thought that is what the Kroc Center embodies as well. It's an innovative way to bring people to Christ, and it's just exciting to be in the early infancy, you were saying, to be part of that and know that, God's moving here. God is moving here. Mm-hmm. Things are happening. So that's really exciting.
Well, and I think that's kind of what the one Kroc philosophy is that
right.
The Spirit of Jesus not only shows up in church on Sunday morning, but it permeates the whole center in a variety of unconventional ways. And
Right.
that's really what that one Kroc, that's kind of what we're talking about, right? That one
That's
Kroc
right,
is-
exactly, is that everything we do is ministry. And we're meeting people where they're at. And sometimes that's on the pool, and things like that. And it's interesting because I think the innovation part does apply to Krocs. We have 4,000 members in the Kroc Center that use the facility, and then we have tens of thousands of people who come to the center each year, throughout the year for different things. And being innovative of having that parish concept and community concept, because again, you don't see that. People don't sit out on their porch. We don't live in a pedestrian traffic area where William Booth used to have, they would be the street preachers and stuff like that. Well, you can go stand outside. There's around here, most corners, there's nobody there. They're driving by in their cars. So the culture's changed a little bit, but in the Kroc Center, we create that atmosphere. We have people coming in. We have community. And we've embraced the term parish, in that whatever walk you are and whatever stripe you are, and whether you come to our church on a regular basis or you have a different church or you don't go to church at all, you're a part of the people that we care for. And I think because we know that this program we're hoping will be going out to the community at large, they should understand that Tracy and I are both also pastors. We've in South Army, husband and wife. Another innovation. About 150 years ago, William Booth's
And
wife
it's a good one.
was a preacher. So we're innovative in being 150 years old. Sometimes we get stuck in some older-fashioned things, and so it takes a while to bring in new things. But the Kroc Center is a paradigm. With the team, I'm like, try new things. That's the neat thing, and we've been able to do things like that. And even just in the streaming area of our worship, we've embraced that, and God's been faithful. We can get up towards, we average maybe close to 1,000 people watching, but we've been up towards 2,000, 3,000 people that have watched either that or a Christmas special and things like that. So we embrace that innovatively as church beyond the walls. That just because someone may not come to our building physically or may not even live in Omaha doesn't mean they can't be a part of our ministry. So I think that stuff is exciting. I think it energizes people to try new things. Again, being faithful to the Scripture, being faithful to our doctrine, but to just really share Jesus' love, which I think is the best evangelism tool that you could have out there. So that's, I think, really what the innovation is now.
Well, to put a little commercial in, since you said something about reaching out beyond the walls and to people that might be watching tonight or that aren't able to get here in Omaha to see us in person, that's what we're hoping we can do here. And so we've actually set up an email for you to email us if you've got questions or if you want us to just pray for you. And it's a little bit of a long one, but it's WST_CrocTalkOmaha @usc.salvationarmy.org. Okay, we know it's a super long time.
One,
I know it's just horribly long. But please take the time to get that in, and maybe we can have Lori put that in the comments so that you can get that address. But that's a way for you to communicate with us. Questions, you might have a question, you might have a need, you might have us just need to pray for you. We want to be there. That's part of what we're trying to accomplish here. And as we talk about innovation, that kind of leads us into this, one of the questions we put out. So everybody is facing this, but COVID-19, how has that pushed us and had to have us reevaluate and maybe change a direction or think innovatively or try to figure out how can we navigate this the best to really still touch people and bring them truth? What things are we doing to kind of address what's happening in the world with COVID?
Well, I think that's where our mission statement is helpful, because if you're focused on people, preaching the gospel, meeting human need, it kind of writes itself. But one of the first things that we got into, and Tracy knows some of the other, but is kids were not in school. Remember, schools were just closed and people went home, and kids had nothing to do, which isn't always a good thing. So we went through our closets and we purchased some items. We were able to even put little Bible lessons in and created activity kits to give out to families, to give kids things to do, because everything's closed. Well, we didn't know how that would take off. And the first week, Kevin, you were the one in charge of this actually, but we had a few hundred, and then I think we got up to be like 700 people, families coming through when we were handing out these kits. So that, when you know that your purpose is people, you're looking for what can help people. Well, what's the challenges for families? And that was the challenge in our neighborhood, is everything else was closed. And that was one challenge. And then there was a challenge with schools and the working parents. If you want to talk about that.
Yeah, well, I mentioned Kroc Academy. So in our community here, the parents either had to leave their kids home alone because the schools were closed and they were going distance learning, or they had to quit their jobs. So there would be an adult in the home. And a third obstacle was a lot of the parents weren't as affluent in English, so they couldn't really support their children either. So we knew that we needed to do something. And that's when we just got into a room and we started brainstorming about how can we meet this community need. We took a look at the resources we had. We were able to raise some additional funding, and we put together a criteria. And we've got ex-teachers and educators on staff. And under Kevin's leadership came about Kroc Academy. So the children come in now either 2 or 3 days a week. They rotate that Wednesday, and they go online training. But in addition to that, they are mentored one-on-one. So if they're struggling with their math, there's someone there that can help them with their math. If they're not getting their reading done, they are talked to how important the reading is. So we're seeing now with just the 7 or 8 weeks, we're seeing that they are staying at the same pace they would if they were in school. And I would bet to say that the kids that are not participating in a structured program like we have here at Kroc Academy, they're falling behind, I'm sure of it. So we know that just being off for a summer, the kids can lose up to a half a grade if they don't keep up with their reading. So you can only imagine now, this has been going on, the pandemic's been going on a year. You can just imagine how kids easily slip behind. And we're able now to keep them at the pace that they would be if they were in school.
Well, and Kevin, I'm reminded of a story you came home and told once about, it was beyond the academic. There was some little girl who came in that was just full of tears, And you want to tell that story?
Yeah, I get a chance to kind of interact with the kids and get to know them. I teach a drum class for the after-school programming, so that really is a fun thing for me to do. But
Yes, it is.
Yes, yeah. And I do that with the seniors too.
Yes,
And
you
boy,
do.
the seniors, if you want to have something entertaining, and if I've got any of my seniors watching that are in the drum circle, I hope that you're not offended by this at all, but it's the most entertaining thing to do. I love it. It's just very fun. So you should come join us, even if you're not a senior. But yes, as I was going down the stairs, this little girl was coming up the stairs just in tears, just could hardly get up the steps. And I stopped her and I was like, oh, what's wrong? And she goes, well, my aunt just died. So this poor little girl had to be at school, but her aunt had just died. And I said, well, honey, let's walk, I'll walk you up. So as soon as I got to the top of the stairs, one of the youth mentors was there and got with her. We've had a worker here that's a support staff person from Boys Town that has been immensely helpful to us. Her name is Christina, and she was available as well. But it was just so sweet to see them come around this little girl. And then when I saw her at lunch, she was all smiles, and she was just really was having a good day. But had she not had that interaction with our youth mentors, and had they not taken the time to just spend a little bit of time with her and encourage her,
Right.
that would have never happened. This poor little girl would have had a horrible day,
Right.
But yeah, I think that again speaks to that one Kroc and all of our employees being engaged with that and really wanting to share just the love of Christ with them,
Right.
and to encourage them.
Another thing we did was we sent home with the kids in Kroc Academy with Happy Birthday Jesus kits. And that was put together from our Mission Integration Youth Coordinator, which is Lori Miles. And I remember when the kids were leaving, one little kid, and in the bag, incidentally, she had a cake mix, frosting, candles, happy birthday napkins, and plates and everything. This little kid ran up to his mom and said, "Mommy, we're going to bake a cake tonight. It's Jesus' birthday."
Yeah, I feel like we need to give credit where credit is due. This whole Kroc Talk idea was the brainchild of Captain John. And I'm wondering how you see that as fitting into this one Kroc mission of just meeting people where they're at. How do you see Kroc Talk being a part of that?
Well, for me, it's a way to connect with the community on matters of faith, matters that are of concern. I mean, there's a lot of, if you turn on, this program will be a lot different than other programs. I think we're going to speak hope into lives through difficult things that we need to work through. But one of the things you were asking earlier too, what's the advantages? And I think that the Salvation Army and the Kroc Center and this programming can come alongside people on these matters of faith without feeling pushy or without putting people outside I think this will be a comfortable space for people to come to talk about these topics. And a lot of these topics are things that people don't talk about. Sometimes when we're in church, we compartmentalize that, and those are our church people, and we talk about things, and then we're in our world area, and those are two separate areas. Never the two shall mix. But I think on this is going to be an opportunity to have people talk about issues that are challenging, but also have some people that maybe have been either maybe they've had a church experience that didn't go so well, or maybe they're just not sure exactly how to get involved in the church. A lot of us grew up in the church, but there's a lot of people that didn't grow up in the church, and they don't even know what the church is about, much less the Salvation Army. So this is a way to kick the tires and kind of say, what is that Salvation Army all about? What is that Kroc Center about? What's Jesus all about?
Right.
With having some of their basic questions answered in a way that is open and honest and transparent and non-threatening. So I'm hoping that that's the avenue. Again, the goal and the reason why this is live is we want it to be interactive. We're working on getting our technology to catch up with my vision of this, but we thought tonight we would keep it kind of basic so we knew it all would work. Going live is a little intimidating because whatever happens, that's it. But we want to really engage people, and I think that this is needed, but I also think it is a new opportunity to connect to some people who maybe won't feel comfortable stepping into a church, or aren't really sure how they feel about different things. This is a way for them to think about things and explore different topics with us as we're doing the same thing as them. And that's the fun part about it is, I think you guys will agree, and I know Tracy and I, since we're relatively new preachers, is in preaching and teaching, sometimes the person that learns the most and needs the message the most is the people that are facilitating it. So I know you and Kevin would even say that this isn't a broadcast of your opinions. This is dialogue, and this is a discovery of where we're at. And we're all, I think when we open up, and this is one of the things we talked about, Tami, is how do we have conversations that allow us to state our opinion, respect the other person's opinion, but then maybe learn and grow. Not that we all have to agree, that's not even the goal, but that we can respectfully hear people, and then maybe we change our opinions. And I think that I think society is not served if we all just back into our corners with our opinions and we lock them down. I think that there's room for growth. It doesn't mean we have to all agree, but I think that this format will be the vehicle, at least an entry point for those conversations to happen. That's my vision, and I know that you guys share it.
Yeah. And I think as we're getting close here on time, and we're kind of keeping track of that because we want to make sure that these don't get too long for you listening. We know how this works. Don't tune us out yet. We're not done. Okay, give us a few more minutes. But if you could just share, as we plan now these as we move forward, we have our topic that we're going to address for the next broadcast that happens in February. But are there some topics that you think maybe just toss out to us and to people that are watching that would be really good for us to discuss here in this forum? And then again, people that are watching, you can stick them in the comments or email us. We're wanting to get your feedback. We want to know, what do you guys want to talk about? What do we need to discuss here? What topics do you see as very relevant right now that might be ones that we should address?
Well, I think next week your topic's going to be great on peace. I mean, I think that's a topic that we need to discuss more and more. In addition to that, we'll have topics that will be for the youth, specifically for young people, try to hit that intergenerational, maybe some senior topics, things that really are affecting them right now. And that may look like isolation or loneliness. We also know, unfortunately, that suicide has increased just due to the nature of what we're living in right now. Everything is so uncertain. So that might be a really good topic that I'd like to see addressed.
I also think mental health is something that's a topic that people want to discuss, and it's hard to discuss it. And but yet there's a lot of people that are suffering, and it's understanding, and it's knowing what to do, either if you have mental health issues, but also working with people who have mental health issues.
Right.
It's complicated, exactly, and we're going to look at that. I think that there's topics with community and policing that we want to look at to see how we can bring up healthy conversations of what that can look like in a community and how we can move forward. I know with you, Kevin and Tami, who I want to host this, I was very vague a little bit on what I wanted, because sometimes as the captain, if I say something, then people think that that's what I want. So I really want to ask the viewers that you send in the topics that are important to you. This isn't going to be of value unless it's of value to you and what is important in your lives. What kind of issues are you having? Maybe there's addiction things. And we're going to bring in guests, and this isn't going to be Salvation Army centric. Yes, the Salvation Army's doctrine is we will always honor, and the position statements, but we're going to bring in people that can talk on these topics and give some insight. And again, sometimes we may not agree, but we're all going to be working in a positive grow, wanting to move forward. But I really would like for people to consider topics that maybe you're like, this is a problem in my family, and we want to talk about it. And I think Kevin and Tami can talk a little bit about this and people who have been in church for a while, sometimes there's problems in churches that you're trying to understand. Tami mentioned, we're going to stay truth. Scripture is our truth. That's our foundation. But what about grace? And how do we talk about these things? Because sometimes, the church, to be quite honest, it doesn't have a good track record in always extending grace in the way that I think Jesus would be, that honored his teachings. So we want to hear from them. And then the other part, I think, and the nice thing is because of technology, is do you have a guest that you would like to see come on? I think Joan Kroc gave $1.6 billion to build 26 Kroc centers. So I don't want to dream small when someone had that much faith to give that much money to the Salvation Army. I want to dream big. So I have big ideas of where this program will go. I hope we could reach a lot of people who want to hear our message, and that this is of value, but also that we can get guests on here from all across the country and all across the world with technology to bring them in. So if people know of somebody who might be a good person to speak on a topic, in or outside the Salvation Army. Again, I don't want this to be inside shop talk about Kroc or Salvation Army and stuff. I want it to be community.
Real issues for real people.
Real issues, real community issues. And then sometimes we may drift into some things that are South Omaha specific, but I'm hoping that people will find a value to tune in on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on and telling us about your vision for the Kroc. I felt like it was important for people to understand who the Salvation Army is, what the Kroc is shooting for, so that they feel like they can understand where we're coming from.
Sure.
Now, Captain Tracy, you mentioned next time we are looking at the subject of peace. And we are titling it Keeping Peace. And we felt like this was another important foundational area to start with because, the current climate, our country has been in such division and unrest all year from a variety of sources, from how do you handle COVID to the election and political differences to racial tensions. And there's just been so much. And it seems like we're living in a day and age where you can't just kindly disagree anymore. Right. We can't have a very calm discussion and go, oh, well, I don't see it that way, but I can respect your opinion. And so we thought it would be really important to start out these talks talking about peace and how we can maintain scriptural integrity, so to speak, while also offering tolerance and grace and kindness to other people, whether they espouse what we do or not. And so that's what next time's topic. It'll be actually February 3rd, which is Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock right here, same place, same time. And we will talk about keeping peace. And we'll have a guest come on. We will offer scripture. We'll offer the Salvation Army. Actually, I read the position paper of the Salvation Army on peace, and there's so much stuff. I think it's going to permeate all of our talks. It was really, really good. And we'll, of course, share that with you, too. So that's what's up for next time.
Yeah, and we're so glad that you joined us tonight. We hope that it's been worth your time, that you've enjoyed it. You can share the video even. If you have a friend that you think would enjoy this as well, they can go back and watch the video. It'll be posted. So that's the beauty of this. Even though we're live tonight, it's always available to go back and review. And so we'd encourage you to do that. We encourage you to get to know us, and we'll get to know you. Use that email address that Lori posted in the comments. I know it's a long one. Bear with us. You can do it. And so you can email us and let us know the things that you might be interested in discussing. Our plan right now is to do these on the first Wednesday of the month, and we'll address a topic. But we do have kind of some good ideas in the hopper about how we're going to develop this Kroc Talk. You'll be able to see some other things that are going on and addressing them. They might be pre-recorded shows that we post to our Facebook page and to our YouTube channel, so you can just see them. We'll make an announcement on Facebook when we do those things. But we'd love to have you be part of our parish, our group here,
That's right.
Our community. That's what it's about. We really want to be part of that and connect with you the best way we can. If you are close enough to Omaha and the Kroc Center, come visit us. Come check it out. If you've never been to the Kroc Center and you just want to stop in, we would love to have you come by. You can even ask for me and say that you're here. Say, I saw you on Kroc Talk and I didn't know anything about it, but I came to see what the facility is about. I'll give you a tour of the place. We'll kind of walk and talk some more.
Kevin's favorite thing is giving people
Oh,
tours
yes.
of the Kroc
And if you have a time schedule to stick to, then you better tell me, because I tend to
You have a lot to
talk.
say.
I have a lot to say.
That's a big building.
Oh, boy, do you.
Oh, now, we need to start wrapping up here, right? But really, ever since I've been here for 3.5 years now, and just the mission of what's going on, and we did a study with some of our college students a number of years ago, and I'm sure some of you have already heard of it or done it, but it's a Henry Blackaby book that's called Experience God. And his whole concept was, you don't try to make God show up and do work where you are. You sit back and look and see where God is moving, and then that's where you go. You go to where God is and where he's already at work. And I really do feel like God is at work here and doing some amazing things. And it doesn't mean that it's easy. It doesn't mean that we don't have our challenges. It doesn't mean everything is perfect. But we know that God's moving here and he's at work. And you don't want to miss that. You want to be part of that. And this is a way you can be part of that. So again, we're so thankful that you've joined us today. Be sure and tune in back with us next month, February 3rd, Wednesday night, 7 o'clock p.m. Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Keep track of us. Give us your emails through our email, and we'll keep you up to date on what's happening as well. And thank you again, Captain John, Captain Tracy.
Thank you for having us.
Great to have you here. Super excited to start this particular broadcast, and we hope that you'll tune in each time that we do it. So thank you again for coming this evening. God bless.
Good night.
Good night.
Nice.